Stepfather spent years body shaming my teenage sister, so I confronted him. But mom chose his side over her daughter's health until she collapsed at school and had to be hospitalized. I'm Melody, 28F, and I need to get this off my chest because I can't tell if I crossed a line or finally said what needed to be said. This is about my stepfather Derek, 45M, and how he treats my half-sister Sophia, 15F. Let me give you the full picture. My mom Rebecca, 43F, divorced my biological father when I was 8. She married Derek 2 years later when I was 10. They had Sophia when I was 13. My older brother Marcus, 30M, was already out of the house by then, so it was mostly just me watching this whole situation unfold. Derek came into our lives like he was doing us some huge favor. Mom was working 2 jobs after the divorce and struggling financially. Derek had a decent job in construction and owned his own small company. He moved us into his bigger house and suddenly we had things we couldn't afford before. New clothes, better food, family vacations. Mom was so grateful and kept telling Marcus and me how lucky we were. But Derek made it clear from day one that Marcus and I were not really his kids. He provided for us because he had to, but we knew our place. He never hit us or screamed, but there was always this distance. He would ask about our grades and activities, but it felt like he was checking boxes rather than actually caring. When Sophia was born, everything changed. Derek absolutely worshipped Sophia from the moment she arrived. She was his first and only biological child, and he treated her like she was made of gold. But here's the thing that makes this whole situation so messed up. His worship came with impossible expectations. Sophia was a chubby baby and toddler. Most babies are. But Derek started making comments about her weight before she could even walk properly. He would tell mom not to give her too many snacks. He would make jokes about her being his little butterball. When she was maybe 3 years old, he started calling her Chunky instead of her name when he thought it was funny. I remember one specific incident when Sophia was about 5. We were at a family barbecue with Derek's relatives. Sophia was playing with her cousins and came running over asking for a hot dog. Derek looked at her and said she had already eaten enough and that she needed to learn portion control. His sister actually looked uncomfortable and offered to share her plate with Sophia instead. Derek got mad at his sister for undermining him. This pattern continued as Sophia got older. Derek enrolled her in every sport he could think of. Soccer, tennis, swimming, track. He said it was because he wanted her to be well-rounded, but Marcus and I could see what was really happening. He was trying to control her body and her weight through constant physical activity. The comments got worse as she entered middle school. Derek would look at her plate at dinner and ask if she was sure she needed that much food. He would make remarks about her clothes being too tight when they fit her perfectly fine. He bought her a scale for her 12th birthday and told her it was important to monitor her health. What 12-year-old gets a scale as a birthday present? Mom went along with all of this. She would sometimes tell Derek he was being too hard on Sophia, but she never really stood up to him. I think she was scared of rocking the boat because Derek provided so much financial stability. She had been through poverty and didn't want to go back. Marcus moved across the country for work when Sophia was 10, so I became her main protector in the house. Whenever Derek made a comment, I would try to counter it later when we were alone. I would tell Sophia she looked great and that she was perfect the way she was. But Derek's voice was louder and more constant. Sophia started restricting her food intake when she was 13. She would skip breakfast and say she wasn't hungry. She would push food around on her plate at dinner and barely eat anything. Derek praised her for having good self-control. He said he was proud of her for taking care of herself. I tried talking to mom about what was happening, but she said Derek meant well and that he just wanted Sophia to be healthy. She said I was being too sensitive because I remembered what it was like when my own father left and I was protective of Sophia. She made it sound like I was the one with the problem. By the time Sophia turned 14, she was barely eating at all. She would make excuses to skip family meals. She started wearing baggy clothes all the time. Her grades started slipping because she couldn't concentrate. But Derek kept praising her for being disciplined. The breaking point came last month. I was home visiting for mom's birthday weekend. Derek had made a big dinner and we were all sitting around the table. Sophia had put tiny portions of everything on her plate. She was moving the food around but not really eating anything. Derek looked at her plate and said she was setting a good example for everyone else at the table. He said he was proud that she understood the importance of moderation. Then he looked at me and made a comment about how I could learn something from my little sister about portion control. I'm 5 feet 6 inches and weigh about 140 pounds, which is completely normal and healthy. But Derek has always made subtle digs about my weight because I'm not stick thin like Sophia has become. This comment pushed me over the edge. I looked at Sophia and she had this blank expression on her face. She wasn't happy about Derek's praise. She looked exhausted and hollow. That's when I realized she wasn't just restricting her food anymore. She had developed a serious problem and Derek was encouraging it. After dinner, I went to Sophia's room to check on her. She was doing homework but I could tell she was struggling to focus. I asked if she had eaten enough at dinner and she said she was fine. But when I kept asking, she finally broke down. She told me she was afraid to eat because Derek would notice if she gained any weight. She said she felt sick most of the time but didn't want to disappoint him. She said she knew he loved her more when she was thinner and she didn't want to lose that love. I couldn't sleep that night thinking about what she had said. The next morning, Derek made some comment about how Sophia was becoming such a beautiful young woman and how proud he was of her dedication to staying healthy. Something inside me snapped. I told him we needed to talk privately. We went out to the back porch and I laid it all out. I told him that Sophia wasn't healthy. I told him she was scared to eat because of his comments over the years. I told him that his constant focus on her weight and food had created a serious problem. Derek got defensive immediately. He said he was just trying to teach her good habits. He said childhood obesity was an epidemic and he was being a responsible father by making sure she didn't fall into that trap. He said I was overreacting because I didn't understand what it was like to be a parent. That's when I lost it. I told him that he had spent 15 years destroying his daughter's relationship with food and her own body. I said he was the direct cause of her problems and that his so-called parenting had pushed her into dangerous territory. I told him he wasn't protecting her from obesity, he was creating something much worse. Derek's face went red and he started yelling at me. He said I had no right to criticize his parenting when I wasn't even his real daughter. He said Sophia was his child and he would raise her however he saw fit. He told me to mind my own business or find somewhere else to stay when I visited. Mom came outside when she heard the yelling. Derek told her what I had said and demanded that she tell me I was out of line. Mom looked uncomfortable but she sided with Derek. She said I was being dramatic and that Derek loved Sophia and would never hurt her. I packed my stuff and left that day. I haven't been back to the house since then. Sophia has been texting me asking why I left so suddenly and if everything is okay. I don't know what to tell her without making things worse for her at home. Marcus called me yesterday because Mom had reached out to him. She told him I had caused a big fight and hurt Derek's feelings. She wanted Marcus to talk to me about apologizing. When I explained to Marcus what had really happened, he was quiet for a long time. He said he remembered Derek making comments about Sophia when she was little but he didn't realize it had continued and gotten worse. Now I'm second-guessing myself. Maybe I should have approached this differently. Maybe I should have talked to Mom first or tried to get Sophia help without confronting Derek directly. Derek has been a stable provider for our family for almost 20 years. He put me through college and has never been abusive in traditional ways. But I keep thinking about Sophia's face when she told me she was afraid to eat. I keep thinking about how proud Derek looked when he praised her for barely touching her food. I can't shake the feeling that I needed to say something, even if it caused a family explosion. So am I wrong here? Did I cross a line by telling Derek he was damaging his own daughter? Should I apologize and try to work things out, or was this confrontation necessary even if it made everything more complicated? Update 1: I never expected this post to get so much attention. Thank you to everyone who responded. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't crazy for being concerned about Sophia. I wanted to update you on what's happened since then. About a week after I posted, Sophia started calling me instead of just texting. She said things at home felt weird and she wanted to know what had happened between Derek and me. I decided to be honest with her, but I tried to be careful about how I explained it. I told her that I had talked to Derek about my concerns regarding food and eating habits in the family. I said I was worried that too much focus was being placed on weight and appearance instead of overall health and happiness. Sophia was quiet for a long time after I said this. Then she asked me if I thought there was something wrong with how she ate. This was the opening I had been hoping for, but I was terrified of saying the wrong thing. I told her that I had noticed she seemed to eat very small portions and that she often seemed tired. I asked her how she was feeling physically and if she had any concerns about her own health. What she told me next broke my heart. Sophia said she thought about food constantly. She said she planned out everything she would eat days in advance and felt guilty if she went over her self-imposed limits. She said she was cold all the time and had trouble sleeping. She said her periods had stopped completely about 6 months ago, but she was afraid to tell Mom because she thought Derek would be proud that she had lost enough weight for that to happen. I knew immediately that this was serious. I had suspected she was restricting her food, but hearing her describe these symptoms made it clear that this had gone way beyond normal dieting. The fact that her menstrual cycle had stopped was especially alarming. I asked Sophia if she would be willing to see a doctor just to make sure everything was okay health-wise. She said she would, but she was scared Derek would find out and think she was being dramatic. I told her we could figure out a way to handle that. Here's where things get complicated. I called Mom the next day to ask about Sophia's health and to suggest that maybe she should see a doctor for a general checkup. Mom immediately got defensive and asked if Sophia had been complaining to me about something. I tried to be diplomatic. I said that Sophia had mentioned feeling tired and cold lately, and that maybe it would be good to rule out any underlying health issues. Mom said Sophia had always been dramatic and that she was probably just trying to get attention because of the family tension I had caused. This response shocked me. Mom wasn't taking any of this seriously. She was more concerned about defending Derek and maintaining peace in the house than she was about Sophia's actual well-being. I realized that I wasn't going to get anywhere by trying to work through Mom and Derek. I decided to take a different approach. I researched eating disorder resources in their area and found a clinic that specialized in adolescent cases. I called and explained the situation. The intake coordinator was incredibly helpful and explained that they could see Sophia for an initial assessment even if her parents weren't fully on board yet. The coordinator also gave me some guidance on how to talk to Sophia about getting help. She said the most important thing was to avoid making it about weight or appearance and to focus on health and how Sophia was feeling physically and emotionally. I had another long phone call with Sophia and asked if she would be interested in talking to someone who specialized in helping teenagers with food and eating concerns. I explained that it wouldn't necessarily mean anything was wrong with her, but that it might be helpful to have someone neutral to talk to about everything she was going through. Sophia was hesitant at first. She said she didn't want Derek to think she was broken or needed fixing. But when I assured her that this would be confidential and that she could decide how much to share with her parents, she agreed to think about it. Meanwhile, Marcus had been doing his own research after our conversation. He called me and said he wanted to come visit the family to see the situation for himself. Marcus hadn't been home in over a year, so this was a big deal. Marcus flew in last weekend without giving Mom and Derek much advance notice. He told them he had some work in the area and decided to extend his trip to visit family. I don't think they suspected anything. Marcus called me after his first day there and he was really concerned. He said Sophia looked dramatically different from the last time he had seen her. He said she was much thinner and seemed to have no energy. He said Derek made several comments about food and eating during just the one day he was there. But here's the most disturbing part. Marcus said he offered to take Sophia out for ice cream after dinner, just as a fun uncle-niece activity. Derek immediately jumped in and said that Sophia doesn't eat dessert anymore because she's learned to make healthy choices. Sophia didn't even get a chance to respond for herself. Marcus said he pushed back a little and said that one ice cream wouldn't hurt anyone. Derek got irritated and said that Marcus didn't understand because he didn't have kids of his own. He said it was easy to undermine a parent's rules when you didn't have to deal with the consequences. The conversation apparently got tense, with Derek making it clear that his rules about Sophia's eating were not up for discussion. Mom tried to smooth things over by saying that Derek just wanted what was best for Sophia and that they had found an approach that worked for their family. Marcus texted me later that night saying he finally understood what I had been trying to tell him. He said the level of control Derek was exercising over Sophia's food intake was not normal parenting. He said it was disturbing to watch. But Marcus also noticed something else that I hadn't been aware of. He said Sophia seemed scared to eat in front of Derek. She would look at him before taking any bite of food, like she was checking for his approval. Marcus said it reminded him of how abused animals behave around their owners. This observation really got to me. I had been focused on Derek's comments and the restriction of food, but I hadn't fully considered the psychological impact of having your eating monitored and controlled to that degree. Marcus and I talked about what to do next. We both agreed that Sophia needed professional help, but we weren't sure how to make that happen given Mom and Derek's resistance. Marcus suggested that we try to get Sophia away from the house for a longer period so she could get some space and perspective. I proposed that Sophia come visit me for part of her winter break. I live about 4 hours away, so it wouldn't be completely unreasonable for her to spend a week or two with me. Marcus said he would support this idea when he talked to Mom and Derek. When Marcus brought up the idea of Sophia visiting me, Derek immediately shut it down. He said I had already caused enough disruption to their family and that he didn't want Sophia exposed to my negative influence. He said I had poisoned Marcus against him and he wasn't going to let me do the same thing to Sophia. Mom went along with Derek's decision. She told Marcus that it would be better for everyone if there was some distance between me and Sophia until the family tension died down. She said she hoped I would come to my senses and apologize so that we could all move forward. Marcus tried to argue that keeping family members apart wasn't a good solution, but Derek was adamant. He said his house, his rules, and his daughter. He made it clear that this wasn't up for debate. So now I'm in a position where I can't see Sophia in person and I'm worried about her getting worse. She's been texting me more frequently, asking when she can see me again. I don't know what to tell her without creating more problems for her at home. The eating disorder clinic I contacted said they could potentially do a phone consultation with Sophia if she was interested, but that in-person treatment would eventually be necessary. They also said that family involvement was usually crucial for recovery, which is obviously going to be a problem in this case. I'm trying to figure out my next move. I know I can't force Derek to get Sophia help, but I also can't just sit back and watch this continue. Marcus is staying for a few more days and he's going to try to talk to Mom privately to see if he can get through to her. This whole situation has made me realize how complicated family dynamics can be when there's this kind of dysfunction. Derek isn't a monster in obvious ways. He provides for the family and has never been physically abusive. But the psychological control he's exercising over Sophia is devastating her health. I'll update again if there are any significant developments. For now, I'm just trying to be a consistent source of support for Sophia while figuring out how to get her the help she needs. Update 2: This update is harder to write than I expected. Things have gotten much more complicated and I'm not sure I handled everything the right way. After Marcus left from his visit, he and I kept talking regularly about what to do next. We decided that we needed to involve Sophia's school somehow, since they might be able to help her access resources that Derek couldn't block. I asked Sophia about her school counselor during one of our phone calls. She said there was a counselor she liked, but she had never talked to her about anything personal. I suggested that maybe it would be good to have another adult to talk to about everything she was dealing with, not just the food stuff but also the family tension. Sophia seemed open to this idea. She said she had been thinking about talking to someone at school anyway because her grades were dropping and she was having trouble concentrating in class. Her teachers had started asking if everything was okay at home. About 2 weeks ago, Sophia finally went to see her school counselor. I don't know exactly what they talked about, but Sophia called me afterward and said it had been helpful. She said the counselor was going to help her figure out some strategies for managing stress and staying focused on schoolwork. What I didn't expect was what happened next. 3 days after Sophia's meeting with the counselor, Derek called me. He was furious. He said the school had contacted them asking questions about Sophia's health and eating habits. He said they wanted to set up a meeting with him and mom to discuss their concerns. Derek accused me of manipulating Sophia into talking to her counselor. He said I had convinced her that there was a problem when there wasn't one, and now I had gotten the school involved in their private family business. He said I was trying to destroy their family. I tried to tell Derek that I hadn't told Sophia what to say to anyone. I said that if the school was concerned, maybe that was something they should take seriously. Derek hung up on me. Mom called me a few hours later. She was crying and said that Derek was talking about cutting off all contact between Sophia and me. She said the school meeting had been humiliating and that they had asked intrusive questions about what Sophia ate at home and whether they monitored her weight. According to Mom, the school counselor had told them that Sophia showed signs of disordered eating and that they recommended a medical evaluation. The counselor had also expressed concern about Sophia's energy levels and concentration problems. Mom said she and Derek had explained to the school that they were health-conscious parents who taught their daughter good eating habits. She said they felt like they were being accused of abuse when they were just trying to keep Sophia healthy. The school apparently didn't back down. They said they had a responsibility to follow up on their concerns and that they would be monitoring Sophia's well-being going forward. They gave Mom and Derek information about eating disorder resources and strongly encouraged them to have Sophia evaluated by a medical professional. Derek was livid about the school's response. He told Mom that this was all my fault and that I had turned Sophia against them. He said he wasn't going to let me continue to interfere with his parenting. Here's where things took a turn I wasn't expecting. Mom called me back the next day and said she had been thinking about everything the school counselor had said. She asked me if I really thought Sophia had an eating disorder. I was careful about how I answered. I told Mom that I wasn't qualified to diagnose anything, but that I was concerned about some things I had observed. I mentioned Sophia's low energy, her small food portions, and some of the things she had told me about how she thought about food. Mom was quiet for a long time. Then she said she had been noticing some of these things too, but she had assumed they were normal teenage behavior. She said Derek had always been so proud of Sophia for being disciplined about food that she had never questioned whether it might be going too far. This was the first time Mom had ever acknowledged that Derek's approach might be problematic. I tried to encourage her to trust her instincts and consider getting Sophia evaluated, just to make sure everything was okay. But then Derek got home and apparently overheard part of our conversation. Mom told me later that he was furious that she was talking to me about their parenting decisions. He told her that she needed to choose between supporting her husband or enabling her daughter's manipulation of the situation. Derek gave Mom an ultimatum. Either she would support him completely and cut off contact with me, or he would consider our family's interference to be a threat to his marriage and his authority as Sophia's father. He said he wouldn't tolerate being undermined in his own home. Mom chose Derek. She called me the next day and said that she couldn't talk to me anymore about Sophia or their family situation. She said she hoped I would understand that she had to protect her marriage and that Derek felt like I was trying to destroy their family. I asked Mom what would happen to Sophia if she really did need help. Mom said that Derek was a good father and that he would never let anything bad happen to Sophia. She said they would handle things as a family without outside interference. That conversation was devastating. I realized that Mom was never going to stand up to Derek, even if it meant Sophia didn't get help she might desperately need. Mom was too afraid of losing her financial security and her marriage to challenge Derek's authority. Since then, my contact with Sophia has been limited. She can still text me occasionally, but Derek monitors her phone and she has to be careful about what she says. She told me that things at home have been tense since the school meeting and that Derek is even more controlling about her food now because he feels like people are watching him. Sophia said Derek made her promise that she wouldn't talk to the school counselor about family matters anymore. He told her that outsiders don't understand their family dynamics and that she should only discuss academic issues with school staff. The most heartbreaking part of all this is that Sophia seems to be getting worse. In her limited texts, she's mentioned being dizzy more often and having trouble staying awake in class. She said she's been getting sick more frequently and that simple activities like walking upstairs make her tired. Marcus has been trying to stay in touch with Sophia too, but Derek has made it clear that he's not welcome to visit again anytime soon. Marcus looked into legal options for getting Sophia help against her parents' wishes, but he was told that unless there was evidence of severe abuse or immediate danger, there wasn't much that could be done. The eating disorder clinic I had contacted said they couldn't work with Sophia without parental consent unless she was in immediate medical danger. They suggested that if I was truly concerned about her physical safety, I should contact Child Protective Services, but they warned that this could backfire and make Derek even more controlling. I'm torn about whether to involve CPS. On one hand, I'm genuinely worried about Sophia's health and I don't think Derek will ever voluntarily get her help. On the other hand, I'm afraid that if I call CPS and they don't find sufficient evidence of abuse, Derek will completely cut Sophia off from any outside support system. Right now, I'm trying to maintain whatever limited contact I can with Sophia while researching other options. I've connected with some online support groups for families affected by eating disorders, and I'm learning about warning signs and crisis resources. The hardest part is feeling so powerless. I can see that Sophia is struggling and potentially in danger, but I can't force her parents to get her help. I keep hoping that Derek will eventually realize how serious this is, but I'm not optimistic about that happening. Marcus and I talk regularly about the situation, but we're both feeling frustrated and helpless. We've considered staging some kind of intervention, but we're not sure that would be effective and it might just make things worse for Sophia. I'll continue to update if there are any major developments. For now, I'm just trying to be available for Sophia in whatever limited way I can while hoping that something will change before her health deteriorates further. Update 3. I wasn't sure if I would post another update, but I think I owe it to everyone who has been following this situation to let you know how things have resolved. 2 weeks ago, I got a call that changed everything. It was from a hospital about 2 hours from where Mom and Derek live. Sophia had collapsed at school and been brought to the emergency room by ambulance. The nurse who called me said they had found my number in Sophia's phone listed as an emergency contact. She told me that Sophia was stable but that she was being admitted for evaluation and treatment. She said I should come to the hospital as soon as possible. I dropped everything and drove straight there. When I arrived, I found out that Sophia's collapse had been caused by severe malnutrition and dehydration. Her blood pressure was dangerously low and her heart rate was irregular. The doctor said she was lucky that she hadn't had a cardiac event. Mom and Derek had arrived at the hospital shortly before I did. Derek was pacing around the waiting room looking angry and defensive. Mom was sitting in a chair crying. When Derek saw me, he immediately started yelling about how this was my fault for putting ideas in Sophia's head. The doctor came out to talk to all of us together. She explained that Sophia's condition was serious and that she would need to be hospitalized for at least several days to stabilize her medically. She said Sophia was showing clear signs of anorexia nervosa and that this was a life-threatening condition that required immediate intervention. Derek tried to argue with the doctor. He said that Sophia just had the flu or was dehydrated from being active. He said there was nothing wrong with her eating habits and that the family was being targeted because of false reports from busybodies. The doctor was not having any of Derek's denials. She showed him Sophia's test results and explained exactly what severe malnutrition looked like on blood work and vital signs. She said that Sophia's body was beginning to shut down non-essential functions to preserve energy for survival. That's when Derek finally seemed to understand how serious this was. He stopped arguing and just stood there looking shocked. Mom asked the doctor if Sophia was going to be okay, and the doctor said that with proper treatment, most people with eating disorders could recover, but that it would be a long process. The doctor also made it clear that Sophia would need specialized treatment beyond what the hospital could provide. She gave us information about residential treatment programs and outpatient therapy options. She said that family involvement would be crucial for Sophia's recovery. Over the next few days, while Sophia was in the hospital, a lot of things came to light. Sophia had been hiding how sick she really was. She had been fainting at home but telling Mom and Derek that she was just tired. She had been throwing away most of her lunch at school for months. The hospital social worker met with our family to discuss next steps. She was direct about the fact that Sophia's eating disorder had developed in response to family dynamics around food and weight. She said that successful treatment would require everyone to examine their attitudes and behaviors. Derek was resistant at first. He kept insisting that he had only been trying to keep Sophia healthy and that he couldn't understand how that had led to this situation. The social worker explained that well-meaning parents could sometimes inadvertently contribute to eating disorders by focusing too much on weight and food restriction. It took several conversations, but Derek eventually began to accept that his approach had been harmful. I think seeing Sophia in a hospital bed with N4 and heart monitors finally made him realize that his version of keeping her healthy had nearly killed her. Mom was more receptive to understanding her role in the situation. She admitted that she had known something was wrong but had been afraid to challenge Derek's authority. She said she regretted not trusting her instincts and speaking up sooner. The social worker helped us develop a plan for Sophia's treatment. She would be discharged from the hospital to a residential treatment facility about an hour away. The program would last for at least 6 weeks, with the possibility of extending if needed. Derek initially balked at the cost and the idea of Sophia being away from home for so long. But the social worker explained that this level of care was necessary given how medically compromised Sophia had become. She also pointed out that insurance would cover most of the treatment costs. While Sophia was in residential treatment, the rest of us participated in family therapy sessions. These sessions were difficult but necessary. Derek had to confront how his comments and control over Sophia's eating had contributed to her disorder. Mom had to acknowledge her role in not protecting Sophia from harmful dynamics. I participated in some of these sessions too, which was awkward given the family conflict that had preceded this crisis. But the therapist helped us focus on what was best for Sophia's recovery rather than relitigating past arguments. Derek has had to make significant changes to how he talks about food and bodies. The treatment team gave him specific guidelines about what kinds of comments were helpful versus harmful. He's learning to focus on Sophia's overall well-being rather than her weight or appearance. Mom has also had to step up and advocate for Sophia in ways she hadn't before. She's learning to recognize warning signs and to speak up when she's concerned about something, even if it means disagreeing with Derek. Sophia completed her residential treatment program and has been home for about 3 weeks now. She's continuing with outpatient therapy and seeing a nutritionist regularly. She's gained some weight and her vital signs have stabilized, but recovery is going to be a long process. The family dynamics are still evolving. Derek is trying hard to change his behavior, but it's clear that this is difficult for him. He's had to give up a lot of control and admit that his parenting approach was harmful. He's also participating in individual therapy to work on his own issues around food and control. My relationship with Derek will probably never be the same, but we're able to be civil for Sophia's sake. He hasn't apologized to me directly, but he's acknowledged to the family therapist that I was right to be concerned about Sophia's health. Mom and I are rebuilding our relationship slowly. She's expressed regret about choosing Derek's feelings over Sophia's well-being, and she's committed to doing better going forward. She's also in individual therapy to work on her tendency to avoid conflict even when something important is at stake. Sophia is doing better physically, but the psychological recovery is going to take time. She's learning to have a healthier relationship with food and to recognize the thoughts and behaviors that contributed to her eating disorder. She's also working on asserting herself more and speaking up when she's uncomfortable with something. Our family is far from perfect, and there's still a lot of work to do. But Sophia is alive and getting the help she needs, which is what matters most. The crisis forced everyone to confront the dysfunction that had been building for years. I'm sharing this final update because I want people to understand that eating disorders are serious medical conditions that can be life-threatening. If you're concerned about someone's relationship with food, trust your instincts and don't be afraid to speak up. Early intervention can prevent a situation from becoming as severe as what happened with Sophia. I also want people to know that recovery is possible with proper treatment and family support. It's been a difficult journey, but seeing Sophia getting stronger and healthier has made all the conflict and stress worth it. Thank you to everyone who offered support and advice throughout this process. Your comments helped me realize that I wasn't overreacting and that Sophia's situation was as serious as I feared. Sometimes it takes outside perspective to see clearly what's happening in your own family. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My husband always protected his younger brother until we found out he abandoned his pregnant girlfriend just like their father did to them. I, 30F, have been married to Sam, 36M, for 6 years. We're immigrants in NYC and have worked hard to build a stable life here. We both have good jobs now and own a small but comfortable apartment. The issue is with Sam's younger brother Mike, 32M, who came to the US 2 years ago despite my strong objections. Some background on Mike. Back in our home country, he lived with their mother and was completely dependent on her. My mill constantly complained about his behavior. He never held a job for more than a few months, spent all his money partying, borrowed from everyone he knew, and left his elderly mother to settle his debts. He had a gambling problem too, though he claimed he quit years ago. Mill had to remortgage her house twice to pay off his debts. When Mike first talked about coming to the US, I was strongly against it. I knew he would become our responsibility. Our culture emphasizes helping family, and being the older brother, Sam would feel obligated to support Mike. I had long discussions with Sam about this. I pointed out how Mike had never shown any sign of wanting to improve his life. He just expected others to bail him out of his problems. Sam agreed with my concerns but still wanted to help Mike. His main reason was removing Mike's burden from their aging mother. Mill is 65 and has health issues. Sam felt guilty living comfortably in the US while she struggled with Mike's problems. He thought maybe a fresh start in America would motivate Mike to change. I knew better but supported my husband's decision. When Mike arrived, we helped set him up. I put my foot down about him living with us. Our apartment is too small and I value my privacy. Sam found him a room for $600 per month in Queens. We paid 3 months rent up front, bought him basic furniture, clothes, hygiene products, a new phone, and everything else he needed to start his life here. Sam asked his friend John to give Mike a job at his construction company. The pay was decent and John even offered to train him. For the first few months, things seemed okay. Mike came over for dinner often, and we included him in all family events and holidays. He asked to borrow money sometimes, $100 here, $200 there, which we provided. After 6 months though, we had some unexpected expenses and told Mike we couldn't lend him money anymore. He acted understanding but started asking Sam secretly, putting my husband in an awkward position. Over the past 2 years, Mike changed jobs 5 times. He got fired from the construction job for constantly showing up late. Then he worked at various restaurants and stores, never lasting more than a few months. He lived paycheck to paycheck despite having no real expenses besides rent and food. Somehow he always had money for partying but claimed poverty when rent was due. I grew to strongly dislike him. His entitled attitude and lack of gratitude annoyed me endlessly. He would come over unannounced, raid our fridge, and leave mess everywhere. He made inappropriate comments about my appearance and our lifestyle. Every time he visited or stayed overnight, I found myself hiding in my bedroom to avoid him. This fall, Mike lost his latest job at a warehouse. Instead of looking for new work, he spent 3 weeks doing nothing but playing video games and partying. Then he gave up his room and went traveling with his friend while collecting unemployment benefits. He didn't even tell us. We found out when his landlord called asking about him. 2 days ago, Mike called Sam saying he's returning to NYC and wants to stay with us until he finds a job and new place. Without consulting me, Sam said okay and told me later that Mike might stay for a month or 2. I completely lost it. I yelled at Sam for enabling his brother's irresponsible behavior. Then I called Mike directly and told him he could stay maximum 2 weeks. I was harsh and told him exactly what I thought of him, that he was a lazy mooch who needed to grow up and stop depending on others. Now Sam is upset with me. He says I'm forcing him to choose between his wife and brother. I understand Sam's position. He's genuinely kind and generous. It hurts him to see his brother struggle. If we don't take Mike in, he might end up homeless. How would Sam explain that to their mother? but I refuse to have my home invaded by someone who makes me uncomfortable and has shown zero intention of improving his life. Based on my experience with Mike, there's very little chance he'll find accommodation in 2 weeks without job, money or credit history. But that's not my problem. Sam has already sacrificed enough for his brother. We sent money to their mother monthly, helped Mike get established here, and covered his shortfalls multiple times. There has to be a limit. The extended family is now involved, calling me heartless for not helping family in need. My own parents think I should be more understanding since Mike is family. But I believe enabling his behavior only makes things worse. Ida for putting my foot down and refusing to let Mike stay with us longer than 2 weeks. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since my last post. Thanks to everyone who commented. Your support helped me stay firm in my decision. A lot has happened, so let me update you all. After I gave Mike the 2-week ultimatum, he seemed to take it seriously at first. He started job hunting and had several interviews lined up. Sam was happy seeing his brother make an effort. Mike even helped around the house and kept his space clean. I started wondering if maybe I had been too harsh in my judgment. But things took an unexpected turn last week. I came home early from work one day because I wasn't feeling well. Mike was supposed to be at a job interview. Instead, I found him in our apartment with some woman I'd never seen before. They were drinking and looked very cozy on our couch. When I walked in, the woman quickly gathered her things and left. I confronted Mike about skipping his interview. He got defensive and said it was none of my business how he spent his time. When I reminded him he had only 1 week left to find a place, he smirked and said Sam would never kick his own brother out. That's when I noticed something odd about his behavior. He seemed unusually confident for someone about to be homeless. I decided to check our security camera footage from the past week. What I saw made my blood boil. Mike had been bringing different women to our apartment almost every day while we were at work. He was using our place like his personal dating spot. Even worse, I caught him going through our bedroom multiple times. I called Sam at work and asked him to come home. When we checked our bedroom thoroughly, we discovered several items missing, some of my jewelry, Sam's expensive watch, and about $500 in emergency cash we kept in a drawer. I wanted to call the police, but Sam begged me not to. He said it would destroy their mother if Mike got arrested. Sam finally confronted his brother. Mike broke down and admitted he'd been gambling again. He lost all his savings and borrowed money from some dangerous people. That's why he really left town. He was running from his debts. He sold our stuff to pay them off but claimed he would replace everything once he got back on his feet. I'd had enough. I told Mike to leave immediately. Sam tried to argue that we couldn't throw him out in the middle of the week, but I stood my ground. I said either Mike leaves now, or I would report the theft to the police. Mike started crying and guilt-tripping Sam about family loyalty. He even called their mother right there, telling her we were making him homeless. Poor Mill called us crying, begging us to let Mike stay. She offered to send money for his rent. Sam almost caved, but for the first time, I saw real doubt in his eyes. The theft of his watch, a gift from their late father, really hurt him. He told his mother he needed time to think. Mike left to stay with a friend, but this isn't over. He's been texting Sam constantly, alternating between angry accusations and tearful apologies. He's told the entire family that we're cruel and heartless. Most of them are pressuring us to take him back. Sam is really struggling with this situation. Last night, he confessed that he's always felt responsible for Mike since their father passed. Their mom worked multiple jobs to support them, so Sam basically raised Mike. He feels like he failed as a brother. I tried to tell him that Mike's choices are his own, but years of guilt don't disappear overnight. I refuse to back down though. It's one thing to be irresponsible with your own life, but stealing from family who helped you? That crosses a line. Sam changed our locks, but he's still unsure about cutting Mike off completely. He wants to give him one last chance if he agrees to get help for his gambling addiction. I know my husband has a good heart, but sometimes his kindness gets taken advantage of. I hate seeing him torn between his brother and doing what's right. But Mike needs to face consequences for once in his life. I just hope Sam stays strong and doesn't let guilt cloud his judgment. For now, we're at a stalemate. Mike is still with his friend but claims he'll be kicked out soon. The family keeps calling us. Sam is stressed and barely sleeping. I'm standing firm on my decision but worried about the long-term impact on my marriage. I'll update again if anything major happens. Update 2, Mike finally left our apartment 3 weeks ago, but not before causing complete chaos in our lives. After my last update, things took an even darker turn when we discovered the real reason Mike was so desperate to stay with us. One morning, a woman named Anna showed up at our door looking for Mike. She was 7 months pregnant and clearly distressed. At first, Mike denied knowing her, but Anna had proof, texts, photos, and medical documents showing Mike knew about the pregnancy for months. She revealed that Mike was her longtime boyfriend back home, and they had been together for 2 years before he came to the US. Anna explained that when she told Mike about the pregnancy, he convinced her not to tell anyone, promising he would send for her once he was settled in America. Instead, he blocked her on everything and disappeared. She only found him through mutual friends who saw his social media posts in NYC. She spent her savings coming here to confront him. The revelation hit Sam particularly hard. Their own father had abandoned them when Sam was 12 and Mike was 8. Sam had practically raised Mike, always trying to be the father figure their dad never was. Learning that Mike planned to abandon his own child just like their father did broke something in Sam. He couldn't even look at his brother. When Sam confronted Mike about the pregnancy, Mike's reaction was horrific. He accused Anna of trying to trap him, claimed the baby probably wasn't his, and said he never wanted kids anyway. He showed zero remorse or sense of responsibility. He even suggested that Anna should take care of the problem and stop bothering him. That was the final straw for Sam. Sam completely lost control for the first time in his life. He yelled at Mike about their own father, about all the sacrifices their mother made, about how he had wasted every opportunity given to him. Then he physically threw Mike's belongings into the hallway and told him to never contact us again. I had never seen my husband so angry and hurt. Of course, Mill got involved immediately. She called us crying, saying we had to help Mike figure things out. She offered to come to America herself to help with the baby. But Sam stood firm this time. He told his mother that Mike needed to face consequences for once in his life, just like their father never did. Mike has been alternating between harassing us and playing victim. He's been calling and texting nonstop, switching between angry accusations and tearful apologies. Sometimes he threatens to tell the whole family what horrible people we are, other times he begs for another chance. He's staying at a homeless shelter now, trying to guilt us about it. Anna reached out to thank us for finally making Mike face reality. She said she's not asking for money or marriage, she just wanted her child to know their father. She even offered to let Mike be involved on his own terms. But Mike still refuses to acknowledge any responsibility. Sam is struggling badly with everything. He keeps saying he failed Mike, that maybe if he had been stricter years ago, this wouldn't have happened. The parallel with their father's abandonment haunts him. He's barely sleeping and has started drinking more than usual. The extended family is divided. Some understand our position, especially after learning about Anna. Others still think family should stick together no matter what. They keep pressuring us to take Mike back, saying he needs support now more than ever. But I know enabling him further would only make things worse. I feel vindicated about my initial instincts about Mike, but watching my husband suffer kills me. Sam put his whole life into trying to make his brother a better man than their father was. Now he feels like he failed at the one thing he dedicated his life to. I try to tell him he did his best, but the wounds are too fresh. That's where things stand now. Mike is still in the city, Anna is staying with friends until the baby comes, and Sam is trying to process this betrayal. I'll update if anything significant changes. Update 3, it's been 4 months since everything happened with Mike. A lot has changed, so here's the final update on our situation. The baby was born last month, a healthy boy. Mike didn't show up at the hospital or respond to any messages about his son. Anna named the baby Daniel after her father. She's moved into a small apartment and started working part-time while her friend helps with childcare. She's filed for child support, though I doubt she'll get much from Mike given his situation. Sam went to see his nephew at the hospital. It was incredibly emotional for him, holding this innocent baby who would grow up without a father just like he did. He broke down completely in the car afterward. That visit changed something in him though. He stopped feeling guilty about Mike and instead focused his energy on being there for Daniel. We've been helping Anna with baby supplies and Sam visits Daniel regularly. He's determined that his nephew won't grow up feeling abandoned by his entire paternal family like he and Mike did. Even Mill has come around. She flew in to meet her grandson and was ashamed of Mike's behavior. She stopped defending him and now sends monthly packages for the baby. Mike finally got a job as a bartender and moved in with some roommates. He still hasn't met Daniel or shown any interest in his son. When Sam tried talking to him about it last week, Mike's response was chilling. He said he never wanted to be a father and we should all stop trying to force him into it. He claimed he was nothing like their father because at least he was honest about not wanting his kid. That conversation was the last straw for Sam. He told Mike that their father was actually better than him, at least he stuck around for 8 years before leaving. Mike had abandoned his child before he was even born. Sam said he was done trying to help someone who refused to be a better man. He blocked Mike's number and told him not to contact us again. The rest of the family has largely turned their backs on Mike too, especially after seeing how devoted Sam is to baby Daniel. It's hard to defend someone who shows zero interest in his own child while his brother steps up to fill that role. Sam still has rough days where he questions everything, but he's mostly at peace with his decision. He's focused on breaking the cycle of abandonment in their family, even if it's through being an uncle rather than helping his brother. Anna has been amazing through all this. She never badmouths Mike to the baby and says Daniel can form his own opinion when he's older. She's grateful for our support and includes us in all his milestones. Looking back, my instincts about Mike were right from the beginning. Sometimes the hardest part of helping someone is knowing when to stop. While this situation caused a lot of pain, it ultimately brought clarity and helped us set healthy boundaries. Sam is a better man than both his father and brother, he just needed to realize it himself. We're focusing now on being there for Daniel and creating a better family environment than the one Mike is choosing to walk away from. That's all from me, thanks everyone for the support through this whole journey.